started in 1930 with 2 scholars in school and these are caddies that go to college on full tuition and housing scholarships. Fast forward, as we like to say, 93, 94 years later, we have right now 1,130 young men and women who are caddies in high school who are now in college on full tuition and housing scholarships. So that's a little bit of the history. It's a growing organization, and again, caddying is the start. We talk about caddy to college to career. So they're not going on to become full-time caddies. They're going on to become lawyers. They're going on to become attorneys, engineers, business, what have you. Caddying is the means to get there.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Whole Story Podcast. Robby and Jonathan here. We are joined by a very special guest, Andrew Kitick, and we'll introduce him more here in a second. Jonathan, I don't know if you got to catch any of the PNC championship over the weekend. Won't say much about it. Congrats to the Longers for winning it, but just a really cool thing. We always talk about it's not your scores, where you play, it's who you get to play with, and playing with your kids is pretty cool. What do you think about that?
Well, the whole time I was watching, I was wondering if there'd be like a pro-am event where maybe you, Archie, me, and Micaiah could like figure out a way to go play with some of the other dads. What was fun was that it was all parts of the family, right? People on the bag, people that they were playing with, and you could see like even the kids kind of giving their dads a hard time about missing shots or going one way versus the other. But yeah, I mean, what's better than going out and enjoying obviously the sport that they love with their family? On a pretty big scale. So lots of kudos to the kids who got out there and played well too.
Yep. Well, today's guest joining us, Jonathan, it kind of, I'm thinking more and more about it. It kind of hits you and me in multiple locations, right? So you're from Illinois, I'm from South Carolina. Our guest has ties to both. We both love baseball. We both love golf. He's been involved with both. But let me introduce Andrew Kitick, originally from Illinois, Chicago area, went to University of Illinois. And then in 2002, came down to the University of South Carolina and was there for 16 years as we were joking, the sports information director. I think it's different titles now for the baseball team. Had quite a run there. There were a couple national championships and other appearances there. But then in 2017, moved back to Chicago to take on the role as Senior Manager of Development Communications for the Western Golf Association and Evans Scholars Program. So Andrew Kitick, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast.
Robby Jonathan, thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be able to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew Andrew back when he was the SID for the baseball team. I did an internship with the Gamecock Sports Marketing, and we got to interact there during the baseball season. But Andrew, I got to ask, like, we'll talk golf stuff and all that, but what was it like to be involved with Gamecock baseball kind of during, I mean, they're still on a pretty good high, but a couple national championships during a pretty good time to be a Gamecock baseball fan?
It's a great question, and thanks for asking it too. I always use a term when I talk about South Carolina, my time there, and working for both Coach Tanner and Coach Holbrook when I was with the baseball program, and Kerry Tharp and Steve Fink, who were my bosses in the SID office, as they say, communications, media relations, what have you. And I always use the term special. It was a very special time in my life. It's where I grew as a individual after college, and I found it to be a place that I did not know when I went down there it was a full-time internship when Kerry hired me, and I was like, well, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, who knows what will happen. And sure enough, my first year we go all the way to the national championship, and I'm with Coach Tanner and working with Tom Price, who is the legendary historian, and we're getting all the way to national championship. Guys like Landon Powell on that team. It was a really, really amazing group. Yaron Peters was the SEC Player of the Year. Blake Taylor led the nation in saves. We had a great team, and we go all the way there, and it was 1 year, and I really enjoyed it. And it became something where I'm like, I like it down here, and weather's better. And it was just something. It just became something. I love baseball, and just really enjoyed working with the student athletes. So before I knew it, I was down there for 16 years, and some incredible memories. Being able to go to Omaha 6 times. Some people just hope to go once. And in my first 3 years, we went to Omaha. I was like, oh, does this happen like that? And as Coach Tanner would tell you, no, it doesn't. And he hadn't made that trip until I got down there. So makes you really appreciate the high level of those student athletes and what they're capable of, because it was a pretty amazing time. And feel very fortunate to have been part of some championship teams, SEC championships, national championships. So was lucky and got to meet some really amazing young men that went on to great success both on and off the field.
Yeah. Well, you gave me one of my highlights. You probably don't even remember this, but I was doing the internship for Gamecock Sports Marketing. I was getting ready. We were playing Vanderbilt one weekend, and I was getting ready in our office to do kind of some game promotions and stuff. And the phone rings. You call up there and you said, Robby, Charlie Mack Alexander and Christopher Thompson can't make it. Do you want to do the PA for the baseball game tonight? And I got to do the announcing over the loudspeaker for one of the baseball games, and that was a ton of fun. I mean, you talk about introducing Landon Powell when he's coming up to bat. It was a highlight for me that I'll never forget. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And the old Sarge Fry Field, now obviously Founders Park, beautiful place, but there was so much character to Sarge Fry Field when I first started down there, and it was just a nice little intimate place. Great field, and it was interesting. You look at the times of Sarge Fry Field and doing PA announcing like you did there, and now to where college baseball is now with all these mammoth parks. I mean, and we're part of that experience of seeing the sport grow. And that's another a great memory is to see people really embrace college baseball, and they certainly do that in the great state of South Carolina. It's fantastic state for baseball, all the way from high school all the way into AAU and college and so forth, and now minor league teams. So you definitely get a sense of how important baseball is in the state.
Yeah, you're going on about your early career and now what you're doing now. I'm jealous. I played baseball through college at a very small school, definitely not a Gamecock level. And here you are talking about going to Omaha 3 times with the team. Like, I can't imagine like being on the planes, going with everybody, getting it all set up. Just what an incredible experience.
It's really a journey too. The seasons I always is just like, I think you have to remember to just savor the experience and just savor those moments and those bus rides and
That's right.
going on the planes with the teams, getting to know the athletes a little bit more, meeting their families, meeting other people from other teams. I had great relationships with my counterparts that were at other schools, and learn a little bit more about them and what we all saw in the sport. And you really see some things, and then you see how teams are shaped. You see how athletes deal with tough situations. You see how coaches deal with tough situations. You're winning, you're losing. Fortunately, we were winning a lot of time. But how you battle, how you handle adversity. As Coach Tanner would used to say, heightened awareness. It was really kind of special to kind of get those moments and behind the curtain a little bit, and really see how you become successful at the highest level, and watching the players and watching what they had to do that, how the coaches had to figure out different things. It's such a strategic game. I very, very blessed. You can go back and look back at so many memories and just like, I remember when that happened. And it's pretty cool.
Well, and now you're living the dream for probably a lot of our listeners here. Besides the fact that it's 30 degrees and you got to go back home to Chicago, you're with the Western Golf Association. What exactly drew you to that organization, switching sports? Completely switching sports.
It's a great question, Jonathan. After I moved back to Chicago in the summer of 2017, I was kind of looking just to, just take a, I was ready to get back closer to home and, try to find something that fit right for me. Being a college city was great, but it was demanding. And, I was ready to see my family a little bit more and spend more time in an area where I could be around people that I wanted to be around with. So I just want to be back home and be close to my dad and my brother, especially. I was looking around for a job, and sure enough, something came open here at WGA ESF in the fall of 2017. And for your background, for both of you, Robby and Jonathan, I was a caddy when I was young, so I was familiar with WGA. I was familiar with what was then the Western Open, now the BMW Championship. So I love golf. I play golf, and there was really an opportunity in the development department. Gentleman that was in my position was moving from development communications to the actual communications team we have here. So we can get in more into that later. So the job opened up, and I reached out, and fortunately, I had a friend, a colleague who became a colleague here. Was Robby? You'll get a kick out of this. Who also worked at Sarge Fry Field when he was a student at University of South Carolina. Then worked for WGA ESF. Ryan Jones was his name, and so I had reached out to him through LinkedIn, and I said I saw this post, and sure enough, he's like, he remembered me, and he's like, well, let's have some lunch. And so sure enough, I got to know a little bit more about the position, and I was intrigued. I was intrigued with what we were doing here and the mission of the Western Golf Association and Evans Scholars Foundation. And so sure enough, I put my hat in the ring, and the rest is history. So they fortunately worked out, and they offered me a position on the team.
Well, you talked about the mission of the Western Golf Association and the Evans Scholars. What, for those that might not know, what impact have that organization had on the game of golf?
It's a storied history, really, with WGA and ESF, and we're actually next year we're coming up on our 125th anniversary for the Western Golf Association. It was established in 1899 in the Chicago area, with the interest of promoting the interest of golf, and they started championships. As I mentioned earlier, the BMW Championship is our flagship tournament, which was then known as the Western Open. But we have terrific amateur and junior championships. So it was established to conduct golf championships, promote golf. And as part of it, in the late 1920s, 1920, 29, Chick Evans, who was a famed amateur golfer, played against the likes of Bobby Jones, Francis Ouimet, to name a couple. He never was able to finish college, but he became successful in golf, and he had some earnings that he wanted to put into that he wanted to use to try to help caddy go to college. So in 1930, the Evans Scholars Foundation was established. We sent our first two caddies to college, and he came to WGA to kind of oversee the program and administer the funds that he had. And sure enough, we started in 1930 with two scholars in school, and these are caddies that go to college on full tuition and housing scholarships. And fast forward, as we like to say, 93, 94 years later, we have right now 1,130 young men and women who are caddies in high school who are now in college on full tuition and housing scholarships. So that's a little bit of the history. It's a growing organization, and again, caddying is the start. We talk about caddy to college to career. So they're not going on to become full-time caddies. They're going on to become lawyers. They're going on to become attorneys, engineers, business, what have you. Caddying is the means to get there.
Yeah, I think when you and I were messaging back and forth, we mentioned that I'd played at Old Barnwell, and they have the Evans Scholar program there. And my friend Brandon Smith, who invited me to go play there, when he was describing kind of his excitement about the caddy program, it's these high school kids are coming out and they're caddying, and they're learning about golf, but they get to interact with these members that are in the finance world or banking or attorneys and all this other stuff, to then I think, like you described it, it takes them onto that career. So maybe they learn something. They can ask questions of these members who are very generously giving back. But it provides an opportunity for them. I think, I read on your post how to talk to adults, right? How to ask questions,
Yeah.
interact. And I think that was really cool to see in action.
Yeah, we believe in what caddying teaches a young person, and that is going to help them become successful in life. It takes a lot of hard work to be a caddy, especially at a young age. A lot of maybe some of your listeners are familiar with adult caddies, but to be a young caddy, it's a very you got to get up early, go to work, get out to the club. You're caddying for someone, you got to make sure you're there, take care of the bag, communicate to the golfer what your yardage is. About it's a very there's a lot of responsibility to the job, and it's really the responsibility on the caddy to do a good job for the golfers. So and through that you do get that mentorship, and fortunately to have successful people who take caddies and want to get to know you and want to learn more about you, and what is your interest? What what would you like to do in your life? And so there's this bond, and that mentoring part is so important, because it will help a young person, especially if they're interested in applying and hoping to try to become an Evans Scholar. That it's going to be through that bond and that relationship, that they might have a recommendation. They might get a recommendation from someone that would help them to apply and maybe earn the Evans Scholarship.
Well, and you said 125 years, so obviously there's a long life cycle to this, right? I'm assuming there have been Evans scholarships and other caddies that have now back contributing to the program itself and working to make that different and move around to different places. You alluded earlier before we got on the air here that you're in the South Carolina area now at Old Barnwell, but also potentially at USC. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. You were talking about alumni. Alumni do give back to the program. We have a very generous. We have over 12,000 caddies who have graduated
Wow.
with an Evans Scholarship, and our alumni giving last year I think was 14 million, over $14 million towards the program. So we've had some very successful people go on in life, and it's all because of the scholarship they got to Cali, and they will never forget, and they pay it back. And that's something it's so important to us that the alumni are giving back to our program. And so and we are growing as an organization. When I started so I was January of 2018 when I started here at Evans Scholars. We had 965 scholars at 19 universities. So as I mentioned earlier, we had 1,130 right now. So we're trying to get to 1,500 Evans Scholars in school by 2030. 1,500 full tuition and housing. So think about that. That's a big. And as part of trying to get to 1,500, we have to grow as an organization. And predominantly we were a Midwest organization. Started going west a little bit. We have scholars at University of Colorado, University of Washington, University of Oregon, but the East has also been an area where we've really felt that we could grow as well. And we've established some really good partnerships with other organizations. Started kind of in the Pittsburgh area, and now we've kind of grown more into the Northeast, partnering with some of those organizations that also give out caddy scholarships and working together with them. But the Southeast is an area where we haven't tapped into yet. So South Carolina is definitely a state that interests us, and it's a state with great golf all across the state, whether it is Old Barnwell, as you mentioned, whether it's in the Charleston area, whether it's even in the upstate or in the Midlands. There are plenty of opportunities to play golf. So it's really about starting youth caddy programs is something that we've had to do. And fortunately, Old Barnwell is a great example. And in the Charleston areas, we have some great examples. Charleston Municipal Golf Course was a public course that is taking youth caddies. So it was important for us as an organization to really begin to start growing caddy programs if we're going to be successful in getting to 1,500 scholars. And that's what has interested us in having conversations and starting to have conversations with University of South Carolina as we look to have our first Southeastern school become a partner. So conversations are ongoing, and stay tuned. But we really feel that South Carolina is a great fit, and we're hopeful that we can have a partnership down the line.
You mentioned some pretty cool places to visit. I'm assuming you're the one that gets to go scout out all the new courses and all the new schools. Is that right?
I don't get to do that much. That's some other people on our team. We did have, and speaking of Old Barnwell, we did have several of our caddy development team. So as an organization, we have 4 people on our team that are specifically focused on caddy development, growing caddy programs. Whether they're in the East, West, or in the Central. And they get a chance to go a little bit more than I do. South Carolina, since it's so close to my heart, I've had a chance to go down there a little bit. But all of us get a chance to go out and promote the Evans Scholars name as much as we can, whether it's in South Carolina or whether it's in other states or other areas we're looking to maybe grow the program.
So how can individual people, how can courses get involved with you guys? Or, what can they do to kind of help support what y'all are doing?
Hey, just reach out and say, we want to start a caddy program. And if you reach out to WGA Evans Scholars, we'll certainly have that conversation. We'd like to know a little bit more about the course, whether you are a private club. Most of where caddies are private clubs, but we do have public courses as well. And so we just like to learn a little bit more about who's going to support it, who from the membership side or from a golfer side are going to take caddies, and just learning a little bit more about it, and then we can understand, okay, how do we recruit and get young people to go there to caddy and to make sure that they get out and that they're successful caddying, and that can lead to eventually applying for an Evans scholarship. So it's just a lot of that and understanding, this is what you have to do to have a successful caddy program, and as we've learned, it's all different areas, different places have different rules, different understanding. Some places caddy programs are huge, some places there's a select amount of caddies. So it's just understanding. We try to get the best understanding of like what's going on at the course, who's there to support it, from a membership side, from a golf staff side, and from a director side, and just try to understand from a board side also what the sport is as well. And from there we try to come up with a plan.
All right.
That's
Well,
good stuff.
if you're a course out there, if you're an individual that's involved with your course, please reach out and see about getting a caddy program. But you mentioned before you love playing golf and you've been playing for a while. We ask everybody that comes on our show, what is the most memorable golf shot that you ever had?
Most memorable golf shot. I've got a couple. That's a really good question. So I played Whistling Straits in 2018, summer of 2018. Played with my now father-in-law, and I almost had an eagle. And there's a short par 3 on the back nine. I can't remember the hole. Was it 11 or 12? It's a short par 3, and I had a good drive. And the caddy, adult caddy at Whistling Straits, and it's all they have at Whistling Straits. You have to take a caddy. He's like, you said you could. I said it was a downhill. It was about 80 yards or so. He's like, you can almost putt this if you need to, and sure, because it was such a downhill thing. He's like, I want you to go right down in this area, and he pointed right towards it, and sure enough, I did. He's like, you're just about it. He's like, that's a perfect shot. That's a perfect shot. You're gonna get an eagle. You're about to get an eagle, Whistling Straits. Right? And sure enough, it goes right, barely past the hole. It like came in from the left to the right, and it flowed perfectly and just missed the hole, and I would have had an eagle. So I tapped in for birdie, but to get a birdie at Whistling Straits, I was very proud of myself. I don't know. I'm a solid 15.4, but I don't score too much. I try to hit par usually. That's usually my win for me. I'm just not a scorer. I don't hit the ball far enough. But that was a pretty neat experience, and I wasn't playing great that round. But that hole, I will remember that. I was like, I can at least say I got one birdie at Whistling Straits.
Well, and you said now father-in-law. Everyone wants to know, did you let him win that day?
Oh, he won. He's a
Okay.
much better golfer than me. And he was ironically, he was a college baseball player, and you guys are gonna kick out of this. He actually played at Central Michigan University in the early 1970s. He played at Sarge Fry Field, so we had that nice story that we were able to share together. But he's usually got me on the course. He's usually got me by a few strokes. So, but we have a great time. It's one of the many college baseball golf is how we bond.
Well, it's
great.
funny you mentioned Whistling Straits. Our guest last week is a caddy, full-time caddy at Whistling Straits. So, Mark the caddy, give him a little shout out there. He does a great job out there. We have not played it yet, but we're hoping to get there someday.
I hope you do. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm sure you've seen it from Ryder Cup days and the majors that it's hosted. It's an absolutely beautiful place, just right along Lake Michigan and Wisconsin. I mean, and Kohler, Wisconsin is an absolutely gorgeous place to go to in the summer for all you that looking to get out of that 95-degree heat and the pop-up storms in Columbia, South Carolina in the summer. Make your way up to Wisconsin for a week. And there's some great courses up there. Wisconsin has a great state for golf, and we're fortunate we have a beautiful new scholarship house actually at University of Wisconsin right now. So we get a lot of caddies going to Wisconsin. So yeah, go to Whistling Straits. I highly recommend.
Not a good invitation. All right. Well, we always like to go through what we call the quick nine with our guests. So you can rapid fire, you can elaborate, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
The first question, what's the favorite course that you've played?
Favorite course that I played? I would say Whistling Straits. I definitely would say that for me, it was just a pinnacle moment to play golf, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And it's just to be able to see the views of it. And, I got some courses on my bucket list that might crawl over that a little bit. But for now, that will be number one on my list for sure. And I played it now. I first played it with my dad and my brother back in 2005. So I've seen the course grow up a little bit as well. So I've played it 3 times now, I think, and I enjoyed every time.
Nice. Well, the next question was, what course is at the top of your bucket list?
Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach would be the one that I want to play. I went out to Monterey one time, and I almost went out and decided to play it myself, but I decided not to. I said I want to do it another time when I wasn't at the right. Yeah, I didn't have the time to do it. But I remember thinking, if I get back here, I want to go play Pebble Beach. So that would be the one.
What golf event do you want to attend the most?
Really good question. Well, I did do a bucket list thing earlier this year. So my wife and I went on our honeymoon to Italy. So I did get to go to the Ryder
Oh,
Cup in
wow.
Italy this year. So that was amazing. So I did cross that one off. So I would say the Masters would be my bucket list in terms of attending. So yeah, definitely the Masters.
All right.
We make the invitation to all of our guests. If you ever need to go to Augusta, you can come stay at my house. You don't have to worry about housing. We've got plenty of rooms.
I appreciate that, Jonathan. Thank you. If I someday get the nudge, I will reach back out to you because I know housing at
Yeah,
not that week. I'm sure it's a pretty penny.
it sure is.
Yep. All right. So what baseball stadium do you want to go to most?
Say that again, Robbie. I'm sorry, you broke up. I apologize.
What baseball stadium is at the top of your bucket list?
The baseball stadium at top of my bucket. Okay, that's a really good question. I'd say Dodger Stadium, to be honest with you. Never been there. Always wanted to go to a game. There's a lot of history there. They have a heck of a team. I've been to a lot of really cool baseball stadiums over time, but for no reason, I never had a chance to go to Chavez Ravine. So I'm sure the tickets are going to be nice and
Tickets.
nice
Oh,
and
man.
easy to afford now with Ohtani. Just kidding. But yeah, Dodger Stadium would probably be number one on my list right now.
Standing room for opening day is like $500 a ticket right now.
I can't imagine.
If you want to see it, it's 5,000. I mean, you're a Cardinals fan, so it shouldn't be too difficult to come down to St. Louis, right?
I'm not a Cardinals fan at all. I have been to St. Louis a few times, so enjoy the Cubs Cardinals rivalry, Jonathan. So I'm sure you do as someone from Southern Illinois. So
that's right. Yeah.
It's great atmosphere always when you see Cubs Cardinals. So that's pretty special. Funny story. My dad went to a game down there, and he caught a foul ball, and he was the fan of the game. And he got the foul ball, and they actually came out and do the interview with him afterwards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a Cubs fan too." And they razzed him a little bit about it. So anyway,
I did the same thing, and they gave me 3 pounds of sunflower seeds.
That's pretty strong.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was great. Got to share with the entire section. It was a good day.
I believe it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good day. What is your favorite golf logo?
My favorite golf logo. Oh, that's a really good one. Other than Evan Scholars, of course, right? I obviously promotion there. I would say, that is a really good question. Bandon Dunes. I really like Bandon Dunes.
Yeah, that's another one on our bucket list that we want to go see. All right. Who would you rather see win a championship next, the Cubs or the Gamecocks?
Would I rather see win a national championship next, the Cubs, the Gamecocks? Well, now that I live in Chicago, I would say the Cubs. So I lived beautiful times with championships with the Gamecocks, but I would say the Cubs because it would be nice to see another one in there.
As I always say, Robbie is generous enough to let me always ask this question. It's my favorite one. What's your favorite snack on the golf course? And since you are a Cubs fan, what's your favorite snack during a baseball game?
Really good questions on both. My favorite snack at the golf course is I usually get a Snickers bar. I try to get some sort of chocolate protein somewhere around the turns. So I've always like gravitated towards Snickers bar. Snickers bar is what I have. I play adult hockey, so that's what I usually grab Sunday before I go to the rink is a Snickers bar. In terms of my favorite food at a game, you gotta go, nothing like a Chicago style hot dog. I'm sorry. Chicago style all the way, everything on it. And so that's when you go to Wrigley, you gotta have a dog. So
All right, next question. True or false? You can be seen on the top of the dog pile in the 2010 celebration of the College World Series.
false. It, I had a routine actually. I'm sorry, I know this is rapid fire, but I'll go. I had a routine. So when we went there in 2010, I just want to give you a little more background. We went there in 2010. We lost the first game to Oklahoma, and I had gone down early. Just it was my thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go down early anymore. I'm going to watch in the press box. Sure enough, we won every game. So I actually remember when Witt hit the single, and I have never tried to get down the field as fast as I could to make sure that I was down there. I got down there just in time to get Coach Tanner set up for his interview with Aaron Andrews. But I flew, absolutely flew. This is the fastest I've ever gone, and I went straight down the stairs, and I knew exactly where I had to go in Rosenblatt. So I never saw the dog pile until after the dog pile, so I was not in the dog pile. But I was there in time to be in the dugout area and just watch everybody celebrate. So,
well, constant professional, making sure that the coaches were set up
yeah,
for the interview part.
It was fortunately, they give you time to watch everything, so I was able to run down there in time. Erin, she was already set up for it and everything like that, so I was able to hear Coach Tanner talk about it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so finish this sentence. The best part of the Western Golf Association and Evans Scholarship Foundation is
changing lives through just through our mission to help people go to college. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, Andrew, we appreciate it, man. Exciting things what the Western Golf Association and the Evans Scholars Foundation are doing. Highly encourage you guys, if you are at a course that has the Evans Scholars program set up, use a caddy. They might not know every single thing about reading a green or whatever, but you're helping to support the program. So, Andrew, thanks for joining us today.
Robby Jonathan, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share a little bit more about our program and what we're trying to do in helping young people.
Yep. Well, it's been a pleasure. Until next time, we appreciate you guys listening to the Whole Story Podcast.